This is Eduardo and Ciso. I was just waiting for some more people to log in. I see everybody's here. Welcome to this week's webinar. Today, we're going to talk about the top 10 mistakes my clients do in sales and distribution. Right? I've been in sales and distribution, specifically beverage, consumer goods, packaging, for over 12 years now, since the year 2000. This is a little bit about me, and for those of you who don't know me, that's me. I've been consulting for companies like Miller, Pepsi. I've been consulting for companies, 5 Hour Energy. We've helped here in our firm consult for companies that have gone public and are selling over 2 million cases of their product. I've personally opened thousands, and when I say I personally opened thousands of accounts around the country, I can tell you I've knocked on liquor store doors, convenience stores, corner markets, literally in 17 different states in the country. Right, so you can ask me anything you like after we go through these 10 steps. I'll try to make it brief. Terribly sorry I have a little bit of a cold today, but it'll be a lot of fun. This is what I live for. Now, first common mistake: misuse of funds. Misuse of funds is a very common mistake. I think it's the most common mistake with entrepreneurs and even with big companies that get to a certain plateau, that the company is self-sustainable, they're doing well, they have constant sales, they're getting some profit out of their sales, they're producing everything without going into investor money, everything, I mean all their product. But then they want to use everything for marketing, for example. Everybody likes the sexy buy. You know, everybody likes the buy that will tell all their family and friends, look at how successful my company's doing, right? And that's natural, and it's understandable even. But, and especially with entrepreneurs, you know, you've been working on this idea and talking about it with your friends for 2-3 years. You want to see a billboard, you know, near the freeway or a bus stop or a transit station. Common mistake. What do you use for your money for? Well, I won't just tell you what not to use it for, I'll tell you how to use it. First, you use it for planning. Yes, you use your money for planning, for strategy. What's the next step? What if I had 4 times the budget? What can I do with this budget? Your plan on using your money, if it's 100,000 or 1 million, has to stay on par. Meaning that your plan has, and your execution, very important, of that plan, marketing and sales budgets can't vary. Your decisions can't vary depending on how much money you have. Yes, of course, if you're doing promo girls, you're going to do maybe 2 girls, spend $2,000, $2,500 a month. If you have 1 million, you'll probably spend $15,000 to $20,000 a month. But you would still do the promo girls, for example, in-store promotions, in bars to push the products. You know, you wouldn't do a whole promo team if you have 1 million, and you wouldn't do the promo team if you have 100,000, because it's not with your strategy. Don't change your strategy midstream just because you get more funds. Just do more of what you're doing if the strategy is correct. How do you know if the strategy is correct? How do you know if you're using your funds in the right way? What are you getting back, right? Miller, internally, I remember years ago, I spent a year with them in Southern California, and they were saying that they have a rule. For every marketing dollar they spend, they want 2 sales dollars back. Of course, they sell billions around the world, and this rule didn't just start when they launched, and now they can do it, but it's a good rule. If you spend $1 and you want $2 back, you won't always get it, but always set yourself up to get it back, right? Misuse of funds also means hiring the wrong people is tough to know off the bat immediately. It'll take you some time, but hiring too much people, you can know immediately, meaning that instead of putting your money to buy more sales, like slotting fees, like distributor contracts, that you support them so they'll open more stores. You spend money on, 4 regional managers, maybe a huge cushy office that you're never there in because you're selling all the time. I mean, I see the attractiveness of if you get a lot of funding at the beginning, or if you're growing and maybe in your second year there's 8 people, right? Sorry, there's 8 people in your office and you want to grow to 15. Justify each person. Each person has to justify themselves, right? How much are you spending on them per year? Give them at least 6 months. I have a 6 months rule, especially with new products. And when we take on a product here at Premier Brands that it's already been in the market for at least 18 months or 24 months, then we look at it different, but the strategy is the same. Okay. Now, that's misuse of funds. I can go over this just hours on. I've seen entrepreneurs that get 20 million from investors. Great idea, great business plan, great fundraising efforts. They're in their full first round of funding, into their second round, 20 million. I kid you not. And then what happens? Their company lasts 18 months. And I've seen it, and I haven't been a part of it, fortunately. We get those companies at the tail end. Well, I started with 20 million 18 months ago, and I have just 6 months to go before they pull everything back, and I'm kicked out of my own company, and I only have 250,000 left. I'm like, can you save my company? I'm like, wow. Well, what did you do with the other 9,750,000? Well, all the top executives earn between 20 and 15K a month. There's 8 of those. And then we did a launch party in Vegas and a launch party in Manhattan, launch party in Miami. So how much that run you? Well, flying everybody there and this and that and samples all across the country, because we're going to be a national brand, by the second month. Then that, was like half our budget. But we were thinking by the second year, we will sell more than that. Well, what do you mean sell more than that? Your business plan says your sales would be at 2 million. Well, yeah, but I'm investing 10 in what your strategy says. So sometimes you can be your worst enemy. So that has a lot to do with it. We call it ego buys, right? Getting a celebrity endorsement off the bat when you get the money, but this is not a celebrity endorsed product. You didn't invent it that way. Sometimes products are geared as a celebrity endorsed from the start. That's fine, because you consider everything from that celebrity in your product, the image, everything else. But endorsing and owning are different things. When a distributor sees that a particular famous person, either sports, celebrity, or movies, TV, or music, is part of your team, they want to know if you're paying them, if they have stock, or they're actually involved. And actually involved doesn't mean that they're carrying the business, but it means that they want to know at least every month what's going on with the company, and they're putting some money into it, putting their name, and they know everything that's going on with the company. You know, like any CEO or VP that's not hands-on would know. Misuse of funds, it's getting 3, 4 celebrity endorsements, one for music, one for sports, one for TV, one for movies off the bat, because you think just having famous names that's going to bring you a lot of sales. Hard work brings you sales. Okay. Now, that misuse of funds, like I said, I can do this for hours. Let's go on to the second one. Second one, not choosing the right strategy for your product launch. Okay, the right strategy. Well, I talked a little bit about this last time. The last example, the misuse of funds is all about how your strategy, you know, the first step is how misuse of funds, how your strategy and your funds are connected. The second one is that if you already have your funds, you already have your team together, you have your concept, it's already produced, you have your sales collateral, and we'll go over that a little later in the webinar. The right strategy means if you're geared up for a West Coast launch or an East Coast launch, or maybe the South, Texas and Deep South, or maybe a nationwide launch, then stick to your strategy. You know, how are you going to attack those sales managers, CEOs, owners, you know, the buyers, category buyers of that particular strategy of the West Coast launch? If you're not going to go into chain accounts until the second year, and by month 6, some buyer at a particular chain account, you know, depending on your product, approaches you and tells you, you know what, I would love your product into my stores. You're excited because obviously it's positive and somebody likes my product and they actually want to buy it and it's going to be a big buy and I would love to you know, be a part of it, and you're all excited and you're like, you know what, let's do it. I'll sell it to you. Of course. 200 stores, where are you, in Utah? Sure, that's West Coast, that's part of my strategy, no problem. But in your strategy it says chain accounts until the second year. What happens that your inventory is geared up to maybe local distribution, and your marketing money is geared up to support the local distribution. And then when they order, you know, you get the PO, you're all excited, they order 2 truckloads or 3 truckloads for the 200 stores. You put in the invoice, everything's done, but then they ask on your going to market plan so many other, you know, incentives and programs, and how are you going to support the 200 stores, that then you can't support, you know, the local distributor that's been with you for those 6 months. And then you think, oh, no wonder it wasn't part of my strategy the first year. I don't have enough inventory, enough marketing money, enough people. They want promo girls there every weekend, just on this side of, you know, that state, and then the other side where the other stores are, you know, on the odd weeks, and then the pair, you know, it becomes bigger than your strategy. And yes, you want to grow, but your strategy, you have to put your strategy, your marketing, and your sales goals flexible enough to grow. You know, flexible enough that if you are diverting from your strategy a little bit, then that's in your strategy, the diversion, the growth, the adding another salesperson, you know, the grabbing a chain, but telling them, you know what, I'm not geared up for 200 stores, let's do 50 right now. And if it does well in 3 months, let's do another 50. That's in your strategy. Okay, if you're launching East Coast, but somebody in Texas is offering you 500 stores because they love your product, but you weren't going into Texas maybe until the fall of next year, because, you know, it's in your strategy, it's in the growth planning. Then you think, okay, well, it's 500 stores, it'll give me this much. Yeah, it'll deplete my my existing inventory, but I'll just make more. But while you're making more, the 3 distributors you already have, since you sent everything, the growth opportunity in Texas, you went away from your initial strategy, and then you don't have enough to fill your leads locally. And that's where, because you have to prove yourself the first 2 years, they don't want you back. You were the new kid on the block, you have to prove yourself. Even if you're doing well, you still have to prove yourself to them over and over until you're a proven commodity. Right now, at the beginning, your strategy, you have to remind yourself, I want them. They don't want me yet. Okay? Um, Again, we can go over strategy more and more specific to each person, what product to do, what product not to do, how many products to launch. We'll go into that a little later today. What, how many people to put in there depending on my marketing budget. Well, it depends on your growth, really, and the funding you may have. Now, let's move on to number 3. Number 3 of the mistakes in sales and distribution. Not identifying the target market that fits your project. Obviously, there's things anybody can see, even if you don't have experience in sales and distribution, maybe in beverage and consumer packaged goods. If you're doing an alcoholic beverage, you're not selling it to Whole Foods. If you're doing an all-natural beverage, you're not necessarily going after Kroger at the beginning, right? Or Safeway or Vons. Why? Because even if you end up that way, even if a liquor store chain grabs it here and there for their non-alcoholic, section, it's not your target. That's not where your target is going to shop. That's not where the person you imagined and you envisioned is looking for your product. Even if it doesn't exist yet, you have to start from the end when starting a new project, right? Who's the target market? Male or female? What does that male or female like? Do they like what type of music? How do they dress? Where do they shop? What kind of friends do they have? All of that. You have to imagine a person, when you're imagining a product. Why? Because you want to become friends with that person. You want to know everything that makes that person tick, how to approach their needs and their wants. Target market is very tricky because you can have an idea of it, but it can change with time. The core market won't change, and you're always looking for where is that core market. If you think all natural, all organic, healthy, functional beverages, for example, are in the South, then I can tell you off the bat before you launch, why natural channel for the sweet energy, carbonated channel for the non-alcoholic and the alcoholic channel, and the core market, the West Coast versus the East Coast, Midwest, and in the South, they buy in a different way. Okay? Now, don't kid yourself. Nobody creates a product that everybody is going to like. Okay? Unfortunately. Yes, you want to create a product that is Coca-Cola, vitamin, even Coca-Cola. I know a lot of people that don't drink it. Many people think, oh, it's for everybody. It's everywhere, which is different, but it's not for everybody. Right? Water. Everybody drinks bottled water. Actually, some drink soft drinks, depending on what region. Have you sold in Mississippi? I have. I know what they drink. I know their tendencies. Have you sold in Cook County in Chicago? Have you gone to bodega and then another bodega, and just in Manhattan and trying to find parking and selling store to store? Have you gone to LA in 7 different counties and see how they buy, what times do they buy, why, what are they buying more than another, what packaging, what if it's 12 ounce, 16 ounce, 20 ounce, if it's a liter, where to put it, if it's near the counter, if it's dry space, all of that goes into the target market, and you have to create the most extensive profile you can on that. And there's that cold again. Okay, next one. Not considering the advice of your consultants you are paying. This is very unique to us and to other consulting firms that I know across the country, and maybe to somebody that you have on your team that you trust their opinion and you put them there for a reason, but then after 6 months you think you know everything there is to know about your product, and you probably do, because if you're the owner, the CEO, the creator, you're the backbone of it, or part of the backbone. You're the energy, you're the little motor that keeps that company going. The vision when nobody thinks you're going to make it and you do. That's you. That's the entrepreneur, CEO of a company. Now, many, many, many years ago, I learned the hard way, making mistakes, of course. That's the best way to learn, I think. From consulting some CEOs, they told me, and then they went public. They're doing very, very well, very successful. But they were talking about their ventures that have not gone successful. And they were telling me, Eduardo, you, as a CEO, as an owner, as an entrepreneur, or as somebody taking a successful company, trying to take it to the next level, will tell you a piece of advice that today I'm sharing that many of you probably already know, but it's worth repeating. You can't be the smartest person in the company. When you're at a table with your company in a room and everybody's around you, if you know how to do everybody's job, you've hired wrong. That's what they told me. Why? Because you're just duplicating what you do, but nobody's giving you new ideas. Okay, nobody's challenging you to get to the next level. They're just fulfilling your dream, your needs, and having their dream as part of your goal. So the consultants or the board members or even the employees that you are paying, if they have an idea, consider it. If you think it's a bad idea at the beginning, and it may be a bad idea because you know your company and your vision better than everybody, or you should, then don't disregard it. Say you're going to consider it, and from there, maybe another idea comes about. Or maybe somebody says something to you that it's not applicable in the timing of it, but then it's right on when you feel the timing is right. But you have to listen. Somebody that sells very well listens twice as well. I see there's some questions coming in. We'll answer questions at the end. We're almost done with these examples. Launching 3 or more different products at the same time when launching your first company or your first product. Common mistake. Has it worked in the past? Have I seen companies that launched 3, 4 different products and been successful? Marginally, yes, but no one that I know of or that I've heard of or that I've seen or read. And I look for everything, and I go to trade shows, and I read, and I look online, and I get all the trade magazines, and nobody's launched even 2 different products and been very successful, at least at the beginning. I put this here because I get the question all the time, hey, should I launch 3, 4 different flavors of the same product? Yeah, that's different. You could launch 2, 3 different flavors of the same product, but not different products, meaning that if you're launching an organic tea with energy, let's say, then don't launch a non-energy sugary tea for kids, because then you have the kids strategy, marketing budget, sales budget, and then you have your, adult target market with women that want to get energy, not the calories type of, I'm just inventing product right now, type of margin and market. So that's creating two companies. You need to know how you work as a company, how the money's coming in, how the PO voice and the logistics and the storage, and the mistakes you're going to make, because everybody does them, right? Everybody does mistakes. And launching several products at the same time and dividing your marketing money and thinking it's going to be the same marketing money is wrong. Sometimes if you launch alcoholic and non-alcoholic, or sugary and non-sugary, sometimes there's different buyers in a particular chain, and you're not dealing with the same person. Sometimes one of them buys in March and one of them buys in November. Sometimes one of them only meets on Mondays, only meets on Fridays, and they're in Wisconsin and you're in Miami, and you have to fly there on Monday and you have to fly there on Friday. Why don't fly there on Friday and stay until Monday? That's not how they scheduled you. They don't know you have two different products. And if you tell them, hey, can I meet with them the same days? Like, that's not how we work. And it's happened, and I've seen it. And first establish, what I can tell you, establish your brand name first. Have people that when you say, your brand name, they know what you're talking about, and then you can brand extensions. Okay. Another one, doing large production runs without having distribution first. This is very common, unfortunately. Fortunately, I say, because I've got entrepreneurs that get $200,000-$300,000 funding. They spend $180,000 on 10 truckloads because the price break was great, and instead of doing their lemonade at 80 cents, they were getting it at 30 cents. And they're selling it at $2, so it just made sense. So you don't have any distribution, you have 10 truckloads worth, you have 22 pallets per truckload, you have around 2,200 cases per truckload. Yes, you got it 50 cents, cheaper, you got a lot more margin for it, but you have nowhere to put it. So we've gotten calls 6 months down the road, you know what, I have 5 truckloads that are about to expire, I'm doing specials, I'm selling it at 50 cents, I'm trying to get it out of here, I just got a great, great price on it. Yeah, plus shipping and plus storage, and it's stored per pallet, and even the best storing that charges you $12 to $15 a pallet, it's still a lot of, it's over 100 pallets. It's every month, and you've been at it for a year, and you'll still have the rest of it. You should have done the 1 or 2 trucks, 80 cents per unit, at the beginning, get some distribution, get sales, justify why you're doing another 2-3 trucks, and then go. If you sell too fast, that's a good story to tell distributors and buyers. So, we're selling so well, we're so successful. We launched 3 months ago that we're out of product, it's going so well. So I can't deliver to you next week, but give me 3 weeks and I'll give you this super hot selling product. That's better than, can you take my product at a discount because it's about to expire? Just think about that for a second. Another one, not having the right sales collateral in place before you start your campaign. Now, on this one, a lot of sales collateral, meaning that it has to be done, your sales sheets and your spec sheets at least, that's a minimum, before you start knocking on doors, before your first call, okay, is done. Why? Because you need to know your margins. You need to know how many cases per unit. You need to know how many units per pallet. You need to know how much inventory you have, and then deplete your inventory backwards, right? Sales collateral. What if you get a huge distributor, and yeah, he can wait 2-3 weeks for the POS, point of sale material, no problem, but he can't wait 6 months for it. He can't wait 3 months. And even if they like your product and they take it and they place it well, if it's over 4 to 6 weeks, then nobody's looking at your product. Next month they won't buy. The product is in their warehouse. You need to have, and this is part of your strategy, it builds on that. Do you have all the POS ready? Do you have all the giveaways? Do you have some t-shirts? Do you have somebody that can make them quickly? Do you have all your vendors set up? That's a very common mistake, that you're scrambling and sometimes you pay more for it. Now, another one, not knowing the margins correctly to put any type of negotiation or distributor in the process, in the middle, right, in the sales process. That means that if you're selling your product at $2, $1.99, and you're giving a C store 30%, and you're giving a chain store 25%, right, and then you're giving the distributor 20 to 25%, then what if you get a big deal? And this is very, very common. You try to jump the distributor. Let's say your strategy is West Coast, you're only doing California, you get a couple of distributors, you have a 3-tier distribution system, you're doing well, but then a big chain in Arizona calls you and he's like, hey, I'll take it, and it's part of your strategy within your marketing budget, and you're like, well, I don't have a distributor yet, but I'll sell it to them at a distributor price or close to it. Maybe not, if it's $2, not the $1.70 that the store has it, not the $1.40 that the distributor has it, but since I'm selling it directly, I'll sell it for $1.50. I'll get more percentage, they'll buy more, they'll get more percentage. That's a mistake. Why? Because yes, it makes sense at the beginning, but what about 3 months from now when they're ordering for the second or third time another truck and a half or 2 truckloads, and it's doing very well because you're following your strategy and your marketing budget, but a distributor wants to come in. Your distributor, if he's $1.40 and you sold it directly at $1.50, you can't fit a distributor in the middle. Now you have to go $1.20, and not only are you losing on the deal that you were winning on before, now you have more people to pay, right? And now you have less margin, and you're doing the logistics for the distributor, but you need them because this chain account has just is growing and growing out of your control, which happens a lot. Or what if when you sell to a wholesaler, after wholesalers, I recommend second year, FYI, unless it's alcohol. First year is fine, but normally second year for wholesalers. And for cash and carries are almost the same thing. So with wholesalers, they'll negotiate you, and just until the cows come home. Just negotiate. Wholesalers will try to bring your price down so they can sell to stores, like a distributor. But the difference is that if you get a true DSD, direct store delivery distributor, going to the stores and merchandising, that's better than a wholesaler that's buying more than the distributor is, because you're building a brand, okay? You're not just putting it out there for money. You're building a brand. But wholesalers, because they negotiate volume, you have to set your margins on volume discounting. Meaning that if you set up a 30% from price to store and another 25% from store to distributor, set up another 50% for your cost. Okay? That way you have an extra 10 to 15% that you're not telling anybody about, that you can still negotiate volume. Okay. What if Walmart wants it on year 3 and you are selling 14 truckloads to their distribution system? You have that little 10% back of your mind. You're like, okay, I can go big. It's part of my strategy. So make sure you're not just selling for the now, but you're selling for the what if and in the future of your company. Right? Now, having the incorrect geographical strategy for distribution and warehousing. Let's say you got the best deal ever on producing your product in Wisconsin, right? And a really good co-packer, formula house, you know, they're very friendly, they deal with you, they give you terms. You know, you're making an extra 10% because the product's so low, but it's, you know, you're launching in Southern California because it's an all organic, all natural, you know, beverage. So the shipping between one and the other just ate up your 10%, not just that, maybe an extra 5% on your actual margin, instead of, you know, not having that extra 10%, which you really don't have, and bottling it in LA, which that is your launch state anyway. Now, I get questions like, Eduardo, I want to launch my product nationally. I have the budget. It's in my strategy. I have the manpower. What if I get warehouses, one in New York, one in Houston, and one in San Francisco, right? Which is very common. I'm like, well, that's great, but you know, you're getting warehouses there. Where are you launching? Well, I'm launching, you know, in Houston, in Texas, you know, around there first, but I want to bring product to the other place. Well, do you have sales, you know, in Manhattan to set up the Jersey logistics, or do you have sales in California to set up the San Francisco one? Well, no, but I plan to have sales, and I'm going to do marketing there. Okay, well, it's cheaper in the long run to send a product that's already sold and you can negotiate shipping on it to a particular, you know, state that you're not in yet, than selling it from that state because you don't know if it's going to take months to sell it in. You don't know. What if it's the next month? That's great, and you're all set up. But you're playing, you know, you're not playing ideals here, right? You wanna guard the money and guard the brand image as a family member, right? You've built this from idea stage, so build it the right way. Who's your logistics? Who's going to do your shipping? How far is your shipping? If you're shipping from Utah at a logistics place to Arizona, maybe New Mexico, Colorado, Oregon, California, that's fine. That's fine. It's logistics. You're selling directly to stores. You know, it's a fulfillment center. But then if you're doing, you know, the margins built in, it's a fulfillment center. But then if you're doing Georgia and Tennessee and Kentucky, there's fulfillment centers over there as well in Atlanta, right? That maybe you can separate what you're doing here and kind of mirror image that what you're doing over there, right? Don't get stuck in one place just because you're from there. Maybe you're from California and your product is just selling tremendous in the Deep South, and it's not selling at all in California. You have to pull out of California and only sell in the Deep South. It's okay. It doesn't mean you have to move there, but your logistics and your warehousing probably does. Consider that. Next one. Next common mistake, sales and distribution that I've seen, not planning on growth for your sales model. Again, I get calls. I just made a product. I think it's one of the best products out there, and maybe it is. You know, I'm not saying it's not, but best products out there, and what happens is that you want to sell to Walmart and to Kroger first day out. That's great, but did you realize the 5 truckloads you just did, 4 of them are going to Walmart. They're not paying you in 45 days. They already ordered another 3 truckloads 3 weeks out that you have to produce and spend money on, but you haven't get paid on the first one yet, right? So planning for growth. Don't just move your product from one place to another. It's just moving inventory because you're not getting paid for it. Get some cash sales, get some small distribution if that's in your model. If in your model is, I have so much inventory, I'm getting a great price, I have so much marketing money that I just want to attack nationwide, chains only, I don't care if I don't get paid, in 6 months. Of course, you're going to get paid every month or every other month, but you're putting that into production, so you actually don't see the money up to 6 months because it's already spent when you see it. That's what I mean, getting paid in 6 months. That it doesn't mean that you don't get money. So planning for growth also means, okay, I did a small run, just 2,000 or 3,000 cases. That's considered a very, very small run of any product almost. And although we've done, with relationships we've done 200, 300 cases in some cases with entrepreneurs that are just starting out, want to prove their model to investors. But normally it's 3,000. You sell those before, the last 500 are done. Do another 2,000. Do another 3,000. Don't go another 10,000. Maybe if you're selling very well, if you sold the other 2,500 in 5 weeks, 6 weeks, then yeah, go 10,000. That means you're up to par. Always try to have 30 days out inventory. Okay, after 90 to 180 days, in some cases, you'll know what 30 days out inventory means. Now, I welcome your questions. That is not me when I was a little kid, or Jorge Olson, our CEO, when we were little kids. If it was us, we would probably have a basketball in our hands, or a football, or something like that. But although the one on the right looks like Jorge, you'd be surprised. Now, let's talk about how we can help you with all of these things. How we can help you is, these are our numbers, our office number and our local number in San Diego. That's the email. You can schedule conference calls with us, with me directly. I'm the VP of Sales and Operations here at Premier Brands. I've been working with Jorge since 2000. I've seen so many, energy drinks, energy shots, teas, waters, functional beverages. We don't work with everybody that calls us. We choose people. We don't choose necessarily the ideas. We choose people that want to be CEOs, people that want to be owners of a company, not create a beverage for their friends. So when you're calling us, have an idea that we want to make you successful, not just come out with a product. Okay. Now I have a question from Alvin. What is a realized first-year sales look like for a state population of 4.6 million? Well, it doesn't depend on how many people necessarily. It depends on what state it is and what product you're selling. Okay, meaning that, Alvin, it means more if it's 4.6 million, if it's San Diego and it's an all-natural product, or if it's let me see, Dallas, Fort Worth, and it's an energy drink, okay, or a tequila. The top selling, tequilas go to certain states. The top selling carbonated or sodas go to certain states. Have um, 8 to 12 months, and that's minimum. I would say you have to look for get as close to 500,000 cases as possible. If you're going slow, if you're an entrepreneur, you're still looking for funding. And by the way, of that's one of the questions also that I was going to I need to launch a product. Well, you need, first of all, the first answer is as much as you can. That's first answer. Meaning that vitamin water, this great success story sold for over 4 billion to Coke. People don't realize they were selling hundreds of millions, and they were in their 11th round of funding. Okay, they never stopped asking for money. Okay, so don't necessarily use your money or your company's money that's going back into your company. Always keep asking for money, because the more sales you have and the more rounds you do, it's going to become easier. And then it's on your terms, right? That's I learned from them. Todd, you have a question. Eduardo, you had mentioned launch one product, not three. What if the two other products are just show and tell for a business plan for investors or venture capital? That's a good question. Well, Todd, because of your strategy, of your marketing money, of your sales power, of your focus really on your sales, distribution, and marketing, that's what I mean, one product. Now, you can have on your website and on your business plan even formulated and pictures of coming soon products, up to 10 if you like, right? Are they available? Well, not yet. Can you pre-sell them? I don't recommend it unless you can get a very high number. And you put there specifically on the website, coming soon, products, and then you'll get comments, oh, that one looks good. I love your current product, but you said you were coming out with a different flavor. How about trying this one? And then you'll get specific suggestions. Or the investors, if you set up different products, they'll know you're in this for brand extensions. You're in this for the long haul, which is great. I recommend you having different ideas at least, or different versions of the same product in your plan, right? Maybe even on your website, but not coming out and launching them, at the beginning. That's more of what I meant. What else? I have others, similar questions to these. Okay, sales and distribution. When do I know that, this is from David. There's a couple of Davids, but it says just David. When do I know that, when to hire salespeople? When to hire salespeople or a brand managers, I like to call them. Well, that's a good question. It depends on your model, and it depends on your advisors and how involved they are. Well, your model says normally, depending on how hands-on you're going to be as an owner, if you want to be a look back, tell me the numbers, weekly calls type of owner, and hire somebody at the beginning. hire brand manager, at least 2 or 3 people to well, 3 people is ideal to handle logistics, sales and distribution, marketing, have their internal meetings, and just tell you what they decided, and maybe you're the tiebreaker type of company. That's great. But if you're a hands-on, you and your wife, or you and your brother, you and your best friend type of company, or you have a lot of funding to hire a lot of salespeople, I would go slow. I would go just 2 or 3 people at the beginning total, and then go one by one as you grow. Let sales determine and justify the salaries. Okay, not trying to justify the salaries after you have them. Okay. Good question. Alvin said, wait, sorry, I didn't catch the ending of the part I should sell. 50,000 cases or 5,000 cases the first year. Oh, I was saying it depends on where you're selling and what your marketing budget. It wasn't really 50 or 5,000 your first year. I was actually saying you have to get as close as possible on something like that to 500. 500,000, right? 500,000. Now, if your marketing budget is below 100,000, then I would adjust it. I would say your sales goal, if it's 100,000, under $100,000 in marketing that you can spend per year, then you're more around 200,000 as a goal, which is very doable. It's very, you see, distribution, sales and distribution, and I say this a lot, it's you can't have a magic bullet, or you can't have a fairy dust, magic, right? It's hard work. It's hard work, and you're doing it every single day. Right? Just do it every single day. An entrepreneur and owner of a company has to do 2 things every day. Every day he has to ask for money, and every day he has to sell his product. If it's with his neighbor, if it's with other investors, if it's via email, your conversations always, you don't have to be blatant about it, it depends on your level of executive that you want to be, but always be selling your product and always be asking for more money to grow your product, because you're justifying it. Now, if you have 50,000 in marketing, if you're starting out slow, then you want to get to 100,000. If you have 100,000, you want to get to maybe 200, 150,000. Under 250,000 marketing budget, Alvin and Todd and David and the rest of you, try to double your marketing and your sales. For every marketing dollar you spend, you want 2 in sales. 1.5 is great. 1.2, you're still in the margin of doing okay. 1.7, you're successful. $1.70 for every marketing money, that's what I mean. But $2 is ideal, and that's what you want to strive for. Okay? So if you're spending 80, then it's 160 in sales. Okay? Now, it's in how you spend it, where you spend it, the type of product you're doing, and what region you're doing it in. If the region is appropriate to the product that you're doing. Okay. Not every region consumes every product. You would think certain products, oh, I see it in my grocery store and in the liquor store and in the Chevron, in the Shell, in the AM/PM, in the 7-Eleven, in my city. So it must be everywhere in the country. No, it's not. Actually, 80%, I think it's more now, 85%, and I'm not just pulling out the numbers, this is a year-long that we just finished in February. 85% of beverages don't sell nationwide, okay? Meaning that there's companies in California that have been there for 10 years and are millionaires that don't sell out of the West Coast, okay? Maybe they're in Vegas, maybe they're in Arizona, but they don't know them in New York. They don't know them in Florida. They don't know them in Detroit or in Chicago. And same thing goes for Florida products, or I can tell you companies that we've helped go to a 2.5 million cases in a 4-year period, and that product only sells in the South, specifically. So you don't have to be nationwide to be successful. His family and all his friends that he hired live off that company. He's well off. He upgraded his cars and his house and his vacation. He's a friend of mine now. I've known him for 5-6 years, and because I opened personally with him on my side 1,100 stores, in a 10-month period. I respect him for that hardworking guy. That's the only way to do it. Now, another question, with energy drinks, being priced at $2.99 by itself, or 2 for $4, sometimes 3 for $5. I'll just add that. What is a good wholesale price for energy drinks? Well, I think what Rockstar did for a period of 5 years when Monster and Red Bull were trying to get them off the market, they were $1.99 everyday price, but then they were 3 for $5. I mean, they were 2 for $3, and now they switched for 2 for $5. If you're going to go wholesale, then you have to have a built-in, for any, not just energy drinks, for any product, you have to go grab your 50% margin that you're doing per unit, and you're not going to have on a wholesale price 50% margin per unit on every single unit. You have to price, your price strategy has to be per category, right? If you're doing wholesale and big box, and Walmart is different than doing C-stores and liquor distributors, it's different pricing, right? If you're doing 7-Eleven's, alcoholic pricing. So you're going to go, instead of 50 and 50, which is normal per unit, for the brand, you're going to go 35 and 35, or 40 and 40. Change the margin, because the point being is you're earning a little less, but you're selling a little more. That if you're discounting, discount for a reason. Don't discount because you're doing badly in sales. That's not a good sales strategy. Oh, I'm doing badly, so I'm going to discount it, and because it's cheaper, they're going to buy more. It's not true. Not necessarily. If you're going lower rate, that means you're doing well, you're discounting it so you can reach a broader appeal, okay? Because you want to take out somebody in your competition pool, in your shelf, that maybe is grabbing a little traction on you, or maybe you want to grab traction on them. So you do it for a reason, not because you're not doing well in sales. You do it to negotiate bigger sales. That's why you discount. Okay, so it's about an hour. I don't want to bore you. I thank all of you for joining us. And again, these are our numbers. Toll free, 888-276-5688. Local, if you're in Southern California, 619-722-5033. You can email us at info@premierbrandsinc.com. Set up a conference call with me, and I would be happy to talk to you. Thank you very much, and have a great rest of the week.